All right. So, how many know their blood type and Rh factor? How many? I know I've been over this before, but not to this level. I'm still freaking flabbergasted. And why don't we hear anything about the Rh factor in the V community? Why don't we? Yes, we hear about antibodies, but they don't talk about blood types. People don't even mention that when you think about it in these anti-V groups. But when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. And I was doing so much research yesterday about it. I mean, I don't even know where the hell it came from, but you can see where my thoughts were going from this thought to that thought to that thought. And it was all in the same thing with the blood wars. And then, of course, using the AI illustrations. That's what probably jogged a lot of this information. I'm still freaking... So I knew I had trouble a couple years ago trying to figure out this whole antigen antibody thing. I knew there was a connection to all these issues. I just didn't know how to explain it. And now I do. And after watching all the allegory of the Vampire Diaries and all the allegory, horror movies, and of course the surgical system and the therapy system, and then the whole Georgia Guidestones, and even reverse engineering the thought process about why 500 million? Why 500 million as far as the Georgia Guidestones? Okay, and the Georgia Guidestones was developed by the Rosicrucians. Like literally developed by the Rosicrucians. And they are the union of two opposites. And then I figured out that, if the Rh positives, because none of the A's and B's are going to have trouble unless they're in a relatively enclosed community that's relatively safe, away from too many people, and they get a lot of medical care and food and whatever. But if they plan to die anyways, it won't matter. But the system thinks, well, if at all we're going to have the Rh negatives, O negatives will be what's left. The O negatives will be what's left. Why O negative, Jillian? Because I just figured out the whole Rh factor and the blood types. A and B, they attack themselves. Blood type A and B attacks themselves. That's why they're susceptible to a lot of diseases and cancers and other issues, because they're smart. I mean, Einstein was blood type B, compartmentalized, had a little bit of behavior issues, but he was very smart in the areas that he was trained in. Okay? But blood type A's and B's attack themselves because they have blood type A has A antigen and B antibodies, which means they are protected against people who are blood type B. And blood type B have B antigen and A antibodies. But why would they have A antibodies? Because that's how they were programmed. So then where are the A antibodies inside of a blood type A? They don't have any. That's the issue. The blood type A's and B's do not have their own antibodies. They have it against the other person, but they don't have protection against themselves. They're fighting themselves. And I just got that yesterday. I just discovered that. Because antigen is a type of attack. It's a microbe that the body doesn't recognize. And it has to develop antibodies. And so any kind of antibodies, you have to see anything that the body doesn't recognize has developed some kind of protection against. They don't hold that protection. And so what happens is they're attacking themselves, and then they have to eat food to keep replacing. But over time, when you have so many antibodies working against you, that's called cancer. You see, when you're younger, you're able to release more. I mean, you don't have that cumulative cumulative effect of all the different remedies. And so you're able to release more poop, maybe. That's the school of thought, the theory, right? The younger you are, the more healthier you would be. I mean, as far as the cumulative effect of accumulating disease. But what happens as you get older, your body becomes closed because of all the therapies and the medicines, because you don't want to feel pain. And so when they're developing these antibodies, giving them fast moving because there's a lot of conflict, then they get around other people who are blood type, the blood type, same blood type, they don't have antibodies for. And that's why they get the V's, and then it causes all these different diseases and whatever. And so it's a whole thing that, I mean, I can go too much because there's a lot when you think about from a child that's blood type A or B, and they have an overactive immune system. And so they don't really get sick because they're working against themselves. So there's no evolution. So they're being cured as they're growing up. When you think about it, that's right, when you have two opposing antibodies, when you have two opposing factions in your body, you're relatively cured, but then at some point, then those antibodies. So there's that whole, that's right, there's that resistance. And that resistance is like, it develops more knowledge. I'm just thinking in my head how this is working, because I'm thinking of people that I know that hardly got any kind of sickness. I had the chicken pox, and so everything was like, came out when I was a kid. But someone I knew didn't have the chicken pox, only had one chicken pox, and that was it. And I'm thinking like, okay, so that person had overactive immune system, which means they were probably blood type A and B, but I'm blood type O. So I'm constantly being attacked, so no wonder I was a little bit different. All right, now I fucking get it. Now I get it. And so later on down the road, when all the conditions are right, then the immune system starts attacking and starts that resistance. Somebody is now in the body, something. The demon in the body became stronger and wanted to take over. Like having a troll in your body that just constantly attacks. So before, the body was able to hold its own, and there was that. And so that was like the first maybe 20 years, 30 years. That's 30 years. That's what, like, the whole thing with Imhotep. They developed someone so smart that had that conflict in the body. So the system was able to use that conflict and program that conflict. And there was like that they held the line, that the immune system held the line, so that positive, negative were like a cure, and they learned stuff, and that conflict inside was just like, okay. And then he died before he was 20, which means that the demon took over and destroyed him. That's what's kind of going on right now. We have people who are blood type A and B who are so smart, child prodigies in their younger years, but that demon will take over if that demon isn't released. And so that's the thing with antigen A and B, is that you'll have really smart fucking people, yes, and they have drawn out that smartness in a slower frequency environment. So you're having people who are blood type A and B, they're growing up to be whatever, but in a higher frequency environment and how they program people, then the blood types A's and B's are succumbing to their own stuff. And that's why even less than 100, because look at less than 100 is why people have the lifespan of less than 100. So Queen Elizabeth, blood type O. Okay, I don't know her RH factor, but I know I'm sure she had all the different, therapies to help manage whatever. But I mean, she had the same kind of food all the time, and she maintained everything all the way up to like 99 or 98. And that seems to be, for the most of the popular, the elite is, if in the old world, is that they grew old like Kissinger and all that stuff. But now I get it. So the A antigen and the B antigen blood types, they don't have their own antibodies. They have to then see. That's the thing. Yeah. How is it that? Well, that's the thing. It's the balance of bringing the food, releasing the demons. But then when you have so much disease and you hold it inside, and you're not allowing the body, those demons that are attacking you, to release. Because you can have a conflict and then release that conflict, just like when you have a fight out there. Okay, when you're going to fight with somebody, if that person was in your house just antagonizing you, then yeah, that's like having a demon in your house destroying you. But when you have little skirmishes here and there, you get in a fight with somebody and then you leave the situation or you release them, And then you go back home and everything is calm, everything's great. And that's what sickness is. It's releasing those demons. What people do is they trap the sickness inside because they use alcohol, drugs, or therapies. And so that demon of opposites, wherever, and it could be all of us have been programmed to have the opposite give us the conflict, to give us the resistance, but not so much or not too little, enough to give us the curiosity and the learning capacity and doing our job. What happens is that people who are like blood type A and B have a lot more to deal with and could develop that opposite inside. But then blood type O can also deal with that too, but they have a different and you need the meat, the milk, the cheese, the eggs, all of that. The people are like, oh, I have an issue with that. That's the things, deficiencies. And could blood type A and B turn into blood type O? There's no guarantee. I've heard it say that could happen, but there's in certain circumstances, but you can't just say, okay, today I'm going to turn my blood type from blood type A, B to O. In my opinion, and this is just my speculation, it could happen over time, maybe over many, many years, but there would have to be a lifestyle change. And if you're blood type A and B living with the same blood type, you'd be under constant attack. And if your kids have the same blood type, then your kids are attacking you. And holy shit, right? Because that you have, if they're blood type A and you're blood type A and you don't have A antibodies, they're attacking you constantly. Now, if they're blood type A and you're blood type B, then you have antibodies. But somebody else who might be the same blood type as you, as blood type A or B, they'll be attacking you. Then you have the blood type O's that are being attacked by everybody, right? Well, I'll say attacked, but everyone's getting attacked. But they're the carriers and they're attacked. When you think about it, they're releasing antigen from the antibodies because they're coughing, sneezing, blowing their nose, and that also could attack the blood type A's and B's. Then you have the RH factors, and then the negative and positive, and oh my gosh, see, it's a whole freaking blood war. It's literally a blood war. And they even said that with the WBCs, the white blood cells. Was it KathyHigh.net? She was doing a whole, blood war, and there's a film about that where she put in the white blood cells and see which ones, won out and which one overtook whatever. And then you're out there, people are like saying, oh, well, white blood cells are only in your plasma, in your blood, and that's it. There's, what is it, the erythrocytes and the leukocytes? Erythrocytes are the red blood cells, and the erythrocytes are the white blood cells. And they're supposed to stay just, they're only found in the blood. So if you're not bleeding, and it's only shared through, pregnancy. But I'm like, no, hold on a second. You're not telling the whole story, Bing, because I'm asking Bing, well, can you catch someone's, RH factor? And they're like, no, you can't. Bullshit, because the mucus is holding all the DNA, which holds the RH fucking factors. That's why they're saying who has a more susceptibility and sensitivity to COVID. It's the blood type A's and B's, or blood type A. Why is it that blood type is a lot more is significant when it comes to COVID? Because in this higher frequency environment, everyone's releasing their demons. And those who are blood type A and B or blood type A are being attacked by everybody, because there's the O's that are carriers. The O's have the antibodies for both. And they have a lot more of the tolerance for both because we have the antibodies for both. But it's the blood types A's and B's that don't have a lot of tolerance for each other. Okay? And so when I say blood types A and B attack each other, well, that's actually literally correct, because blood type A attacks blood type A, blood type B attacks blood type B. And if they're opposites, then, okay, not only they're attracted, but they have some sort of protection. But even then, they could be carriers of something else because of how people release their demons. They causing them to blow their nose, and you're supposed to. But if you're within the vicinity, then you're going to catch it. Now, why am I so like my husband? My husband's been up all night. He's finally sleeping right now. But the frequency changed yesterday, and I heard it in my ear, and I was just like, oh God, a long tone. But I'm doing great. I mean, I was highly energetic, yes, and I've got so many connections yesterday. That energy, I was just like, my brain was moving, and it made all those quiches and all that stuff, and cleaned the house and did a bunch of laundry. But I mean, oh God, geez, I'm just like, holy shit, I just lost my train of thought. That's crazy. All right. Anyways, I'm going a little bit fast. But where was I at? Shit. Trying to remember where the hell I was left off at. Well, anyways, and so yeah, so yesterday my husband was up all night last night, and he's a carrier. So that's right. Why am I so sensitive? Because I was raised by blood type. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I was probably raised by Rh negatives, and I was probably raised by the specific A or B blood type. I know my parents had to been A or B, and potentially even my other sister that I was raised with. And so I was probably the only one. That's probably why I was the most different. But I held all of those. When you're around people who are opposite of you, you're holding that demon in, especially if they're developing a demon and breathing all over you and doing whatever. And so now I have this demon that is metastasizing. Not that it turned into cancer, but it became a lot of my personality, dealing with that conflict. And probably why my PMS was so bad. My PMDD was so bad, because it was like 1 month the demon was so crazy, and other months it was not as crazy. And so if I were to have a baby, I would have developed a demon that would have been opposite me and destroyed me. That's what happens when you have kids, and these kids are becoming they're becoming, yes, more deficient, but they're also your complete opposite. And they will destroy you. That's the thing. Even though opposites attract, the stronger opposite will destroy. And maybe the opposite could also strengthen. But people right now are treating their disease. They're starving. They're not being strengthened by their family. They're being destroyed by their own family. See, that's why I was raised where I was raised. With who? Because it wasn't like family. It was definitely a conditioning. Because if I was to be treated like family, like the traditional family out there, when you think about it, they would allow the other person who's stronger to destroy them. That's why kids run households in some places. The kids, the grandkids, they run everything. No one's holding them accountable. So even though, yeah, you might hold them accountable, okay, but will they be able, if you do, then will they hold somebody else accountable without carry on? Who the hell knows? But if they already have an immune system that they aren't even aware of, that they have their A and B, or they have a positive or negative, and they're not even aware of how their blood types interact with the rest of the world, they'll be walking into things that they won't have the strength for over time. But the system will utilize their resources. That's why you're given everything. Because the system knows. We're in a Vampire Diaries war. The system knows what exactly you're up against. And if you happen to have resources and intellectual capability and innovation, they'll find a way to channel those resources and get it out of you before you succumb to that demon within. That's fucking insane. That is insane. But it is a blood war. And that's why that was why the Vs were necessary for those who are blood type A and B, because they didn't have the antibodies. And especially in this environment, you'd have to be exposed to it before you get exposed to it. But then they're short-lived. It's a cure. So then how do you survive the opposite? You have to release the demon the way I have in my book. That's the thing. It's releasing the demons and eating food to build back whatever was taken. Like a Pac-Man. Okay? And that's what HIV is too, is when you have the opposite in your body that's eating away at your immune system, causing more infection. See, when you don't have antibodies, when you lack primary and secondary antibodies, you have more infection, and you also have some like end organ deterioration or something. I forget exactly, but it's down my timeline. But when you lack antibodies, then your body's being taken over by infection and other things. So that's why I allow the infection to go through, and then I release it. I allow it to just do its thing, and I take a rest and feel the heart palpitations, and I release the demons the way I have in my book, and I eat food to rebuild. Because that's essentially what I'm doing in this environment. When you have all these opposites that are destroying me, that I don't have any antibodies for. Remember, I'm Rh positive. I know that. When you're Rh positive, you don't have antibodies for Rh negative. So it's like a Pac-Man going through your body, like a virus. It goes through your body, eats the different tissues, and does whatever it does. And then your immune system has to go and corral it and carry it away and get it to, because yeah, if people aren't supposed to deal with the opposites, they would die. We would have no human race. But you're supposed to deal with the opposites. But your immune system doesn't mean that you have antibodies for some of the things out there, but you have an immune system that's supposed to release those demons. But then again, when you have, like with the whole Vampire Diaries where they put the salt boundaries, when that vampire wants to go and attack, that's why they have the salt boundaries. Like even ghost shows, they have the salt boundaries. But then that's only temporary. Once the salt boundaries disappear, then the demon's on the attack again. But it's not even just attacking, it's also having its own children. It's replicating. And it's converting everything into itself to convert against you. That's why I do what I do with pulling out the crap. Because I'm not trying to harbor the freaking demon inside, but not everybody can do what I do. Because they might have other energies that they're not prepared for. And I can't be the one to say. It's freaking insane. It's insane. So yeah. So give me 1 second. I'm going to read this so I can just get my brain geared into this. Because this is wow. I just can't even believe it. But I can. I knew. See, Blood Wars was all about the Rh factors and blood types. The Vampire Diaries, I told you. And I have no idea if my Rh positive will flip to be an Rh negative. Okay, so that's something I can't say that would happen, and I'm not going to go and get tested all the time to figure it out. It doesn't matter. If I can survive this environment with minimal contact of being attacked all the time, because if I'm out there all the time in this highly accelerated environment, I'll be taking on the negatives. And when you take on so many negatives and you're a positive, yeah, it'll destroy you. And so when someone who is an Rh negative and they take on positives, they have already the antibodies. The negatives do, but the positives don't have negatives against it. That's what makes complete fucking sense now, because here this is, oh gosh, let me do this math thing. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. Now I understand. So a negative times a positive equals a negative, right? Let me make sure. Let me just refresh this. Hold on. I gotta refresh this. Now there's a reason why to memorize this. Negative times a positive is always a negative number, okay? Because that means that negative is basically neutralizing that positive. All right. Now I can explain this through biology. Negative times a negative equals a positive. Let me just make sure that's correct. Negative times a negative equals a negative multiplied by another negative number equals a positive. Equals a positive. A positive times a positive equals a positive. And let's make sure that's correct, because I'm not going to be misquoting anything now. Pos times is always a positive. Is always a positive. Okay, so you have two the like. So you have two negatives. So you have, yeah, a negative. So when you have two negatives, okay, that's fine. They can multiply each other, because when they can multiply antibodies, positive antibodies. Okay, and this is antibodies. And see, hold on. The answer is always antibodies. Antibodies. Yes, antibodies. And so the answer is always antibodies. So negative times a positive. So you get a negative person and you get a positive person. So an Rh negative and an Rh positive, the negative is going to kick their ass. Yep, the negative will overtake the positive. It will destroy the positive. And that's why you get the ROGAM shot for someone who was an Rh negative with a baby that's Rh positive. because they're saying that if the mother who is negative detects something that's not hers, like another negative, and it's a positive, she will go and attack it. That's why the rogue am shot. Now we understand that. And so, yeah. Okay. Oh my God. And even though there's conflict with that, and you get intellectual capability and you get innovation, that negative will destroy that positive. Okay, so it's not always being about happy, happy, joy, joy, because you'll destroy somebody. The negatives will kick your ass. Be like, hey, you can't always be positive. You got to have a little bit of negative to control that love, 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 and destruction. Oh my God. And so then you have a negative times a negative. Yes, you'll always have a bunch of positive antibodies against the positives. Okay, so you get two negatives, two RH negatives hanging out together. They're a fucking force. They can walk around through a crowd of killers. They're walking around through a crowd of killers with a smile. Okay, what do you mean by that? So you have two negatives, and they're around all these positives that are trying to attack them. They have the antibodies. They have the strength, the antibodies to deal with that. But you get positives, two positives walk around a bunch of negatives. Oh, they'll be destroyed. They will be taken over. So then you get a positive times a positive equals a positive. Antibodies. They don't have negative antibodies, but they'll have positive antibodies. But antibodies for what? Well, they'll have antibodies for all the A and B, but not so much for the RH negative. So antibodies positives for A and B, but not the RH negatives. But not RH negatives. See, I knew that whole negative times a positive and a negative times a negative, positive, there was something to it. It had to do with biology. But now I can explain it through biology. Through blood wars. That's what's crazy. That's what's insane. Oh my God. So antibodies, so A and B, but not RH. Yes. And so the answer is always antibodies. That was how they determined that. So I have no idea if my RH positive will flip to be an RH negative. I know I'm stronger from exposure little by little at a time from my husband and then a few people I see every so often. I know my adopted parents' blood types. I don't. My adopted parents' blood types and child rearing practices made me stronger. I still don't know for sure what their blood type was, but I can speculate. I can venture a guess. I would assume they were A and B, and I would also assume they had an RH negative somewhere in there. I have to assume that, though I don't know. I might have asked my parents, but if they did know, they weren't going to tell me. Or they don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? So conflict can make you stronger if you know how to support it. Remember, if you don't release the way I have in my book and not using all those stupid detoxes and not using all those saltwater flushes, you might have a chance. If you release, Jesus Christ. I can't even speak. I'm just tripping on. This is a lot of information that I have to. Okay, I gotta correct that because that's insane. Because I don't want to say it like that. Remember, if you release the way I have in my book, I get my negatives and positives. Remember, if you release the way I have in my book and not using all this, okay. Okay. Fuck. I'll change that. I'm sorry. I have to change that now before I freaking forget. Oh, gosh. I'm just sit on this for a minute, okay? Okay. If you release. Okay. Sorry, I just gotta change this on this other end too. No, just sit on that for a minute because I'm like tripping out. That's the whole blood wars. That's why I don't go out there too much because I know I get attacked. I can feel my head fill up. And it's not the antibodies developing, it's my immune system developing macrophages and microphages to envelop, to turn into mucus. That's what the mucus is. It's releasing those demons. That's what the mucus is. And people try to drive the mucus inside their body. They dry up the enemy in their body. And so, yeah. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's... Did I not? Okay. Discard. Okay, that's fine. I didn't correct that. That's fine. All right, I'm just going to delete this. I'm sorry, I'm just figuring some shit out. I'll deal with that later. Okay. Okay. All right. And so that's why you don't attack anything in your body. You don't attack it because you'll make it stronger. And that's what's going on. People are now attacking the opposites in their body that's causing them disease, and it's making it stronger. And I knew that whenever you attack anything, you make it stronger. And also causing the mRNA mimic. It's mimicking stuff. That's what's insane. And so when you're doing the pot, you're making that demon stronger. When you're doing all the different drugs, you're making the demons inside you stronger. Whenever you attack anything in your body, you make those demons stronger. Okay? You have to release them. You see, you can't attack anything. You can't even attack the demons inside your body. Like I said, when you attack somebody else, you're making them stronger. People attacked me, they made me fucking stronger. When the microbes attack me, it made me stronger. But then I have to realize, okay, I can't handle too many attacks because it'll destroy me, so I have to walk away. But every so often, a skirmish here and there makes you stronger. Sickness every so often makes you stronger. But when you attack the things in your body, that's what it is. When you attack the diseases in your body, you make those diseases stronger, and those diseases are the opposites working against you. The my/co, my, co, plasma. And those diseases are the opposites working against you. So that's why the way I have my book is I release them and I feed my body. I never attack anything or trap anything. And I'm telling you, man, people are attacking all their diseases, making them stronger, and it's destroying them. And they don't realize it. And that's the whole issue. And that's why you see people so pissed off at what's going on out there because they don't understand what's going on. What happened during World War II is Hitler, like I heard that Hitler is an Rh positive, and he thought the Rh negatives were trying to destroy him. Which, okay, microbially, yes, he was correct, but he wasn't strong enough to deal with conflict. So he thought he would genocide them. You can't do that. You can avoid people that are your opposites if they're not attracting you to begin with. But if someone is attacking you, like literally coming into your house and attacking you, yeah, you should be able to defend yourself. But if they're not attacking you, then what the fuck are you doing? Because someone holds an opposite point of view doesn't give you the right to attack them. You can look at that opposite point of view, but you don't attack it and try to genocide it or spiritually destroy it. But that's what people with very baser level instincts, they do is they attack the complete opposites. They don't consider it and maybe take some information and assimilate and learn how to work with those opposites. No, they want to go and destroy it. What happens when you can't handle conflict? You may destroy the conflict and you destroy yourself at the same time. That's what goes on. When you destroy somebody who happens to have a different thought process, you destroy evolution. Evolution is about the union of opposites. And that's the thing. It's the union of opposites without trying to destroy. Union of opposites. And you have to let the system do what it needs to do, whatever it's doing. But yes, that's why the Georgia Guidestone says 500 million. Because it would be the Rh negatives. And the O's. And maybe the A's, if they're in their compartmentalized area, not around too many of their own kind. And the system is keeping track of all the different blood types in whatever areas. But yes, the Rh negatives are in the Basque region, France, Spain, Morocco. A lot of Egyptians are Rh negatives, even Saudi Arabia, Rh negatives. Now you see the blood wars turn into religious wars, turn into political wars. Yeah, that's some pretty insane shit. And so that's why you see, I'm not anti-children, I'm not. But I'm telling you, when you think about it, I mean, it's not my problem. When people want to have kids, fine, have your kids. But I'll tell you, when you're developing a complete opposite of you, you're in a war with your child. You're in a war. I was at war with my parents because we were complete opposites. I couldn't prove it because I don't have their HIPAA records, and they're not going to tell me. I don't talk to them anymore. But they did their job. They made me strong. They didn't make me weak. I was either going to survive the world I was in or not. And that's what it really is, sink or swim. You're either going to survive the world that you're in that are made of all of your opposites out there, or you're going to sink. And so, yeah, so let me read the rest of what I was saying here. Remember, if you release the way I have my book and not using all those stupid detoxes and not using all those saltwater flushes all the time, you might have a chance to release the demons of opposites in your body working against you. Not completely release all of them, but the ones that are taking over, so where you have relative equilibrium. Why people have disease? Because they harbor so much opposite in their body because of their practices. They go out there, hang out with people, which, okay, and they're also making the opposite stronger by taking all the remedies. Okay? And so yeah, right now, currently, people are housing demons of the opposites in their body, causing so much conflict they can't get ahead of it. But again, you may not be prepared for the energy, so talk to your doctor. But now you know why I do what I do with my own immune system, because I was taken over by a demon of the opposite, being raised by complete opposites, and then taken on the world's demons of opposites. It can give you knowledge, oh yeah, but that knowledge can destroy you if you don't manage it correctly. Yes. Evolution can destroy you if you don't manage it correctly. That's why you have to have food and release to be a carrier force in for the nutrients to build your body up as those opposites are destroying your body, and then you have to release those demons so you're not harboring that freaking demon inside. All right? So it can give you knowledge, but that knowledge can destroy you if you don't manage it correctly. And when you have to strengthen your immune system to release that demon and demons, you can't afford to be food finicky or political about food. People are starving themselves and the demons destroy them at their own hand. Or they drug their body, making the demons stronger. That's also what people are doing. The alcohol demons and the drug demons are making that opposite in the body stronger. Or that opposite turns into a baby that works against the parent and destroys it. Okay? And so when you think about it, that opposite, so that negative can work against you, against that positive. But also, if you have a baby, if you're blood type A or B, and you have the same baby that has the same blood type, you guys are attacking each other because you don't have any antibodies to protect each other from each other. That's also the issue. That's why there's infanticide. That's why children destroy their parents sometimes, because they develop an Rh blood type baby that was opposite of them attacking them, or they have the same blood types. That's why the system is trying to control reproduction, because you could be developing a baby that would be destroying you and everyone around you. People don't get that, and I just got it. So I would, if I were you, I would figure out your blood type of your babies and your kids so you know what you're in for. Some people have a kid that's exactly their blood type and they're attacking each other, and a kid is opposite, so they have protection. So that's why there is that when you have someone just like you, yeah, you're going to attack each other. It's competition, survival of the fittest. Okay? And so, because the system of opposites is that, that your body's trying to control that much growth. And when you're around someone that's just like you, now the body has to really figure out how to protect itself from that other thing that's making even more so. I don't know, man. There's a lot of shit going on with this. Again, negative times a positive equals a negative. Negative times a negative equals a positive. You have antibodies. Positive times a positive is a positive, but only for the antibodies for A and B. but not for Rh negative. And so people fall victim to their family and their friends because they don't have what it takes to manage that conflict. That's the Hunger Games, which is why you set your girls free, because they will be destroyed if they get married or have a child in this environment. But at this point, it's too late for a lot of people, but now you see why I've been so concerned about the girls and the women of our society. I know what hell they're in for. It was the blood type A and B who needed the VAX because they did not have the antibodies for their own blood type. They had antibodies for blood type B or A antibodies, but not for their own. So if their own blood type comes around, they do not have enough protection against them. As far as the Rh factors, all the Rh positives will be attacked by the Rh negatives, and they have no antibodies built for that Rh positive against an Rh negative unless it's like an mRNA or synthetic. But even then, I can't even prove that these V's have anything with the negative. No, there's no antibodies you can develop against an Rh negative. Negative will eat a positive. So then it's the food supply that will add to what's being subtracted. That's why you have to eat food. People are like starving and they're afraid of food. That's how the system got to you. Because they know a lot of people are O positive out there or AB positive. And it's the negatives in their environment that are taking away their substance and life force. And imagine being married to someone who's like that opposite. Imagine being married to, some of you're O positive, they're Rh negative. And that already is doomed. Not only in just that relationship, but also with the offspring. That's a war that's above all wars. And so, sorry, but even I'm speculating as I hear nothing in the VAX community about Rh factors, only blood types. But even then, I don't hear anything too much about that. I just hear them all just moaning that they're being destroyed. However, all the Rh negatives have antibodies for the Rh positive. O negatives are the strongest because they are carriers and have antibodies against O positive and AB positive, negative, AB positive, and negative. Okay? But if the O negatives have drug, alcohol, and excess issues like Kurt Cobain and another person, who's a O negative, was it Al Capone? And was it John Lennon? I don't remember. Yeah. But go look at that website that I posted about the Rh negatives that's in Hollywood. Just because you're O negative doesn't mean you're home free. No, it's like having a high IQ doesn't mean anything. It's how you use your O negative. It's how you use your high IQ is what will give you the longevity. Okay? But if the O negatives have drug and alcohol excess issues, it doesn't matter what the hell you are. And so just because you're Rh negative doesn't mean you have health issues. You're not, they don't say that the Rh negatives have anything, they don't have more diseases or anything like that. I was Googling what Rh negative, because I'm O positive, thinking like, I'm the best, right? Not necessarily. I'm constantly under attack of the Rh negatives, constantly. And so I'm like thinking, oh shit. I'm like, oh my God, but maybe that's what the whole Rh negative and the Rh positive is, to make the Rh negatives and positives stronger, strengthen each other. But then take away the A and B because they have issues because of the lack of antibodies, because of their antigen that's stuck on their biomarker on their blood. And so it's the O's that will rule the world. The O positive and the O negatives that will be in conflict, but not literally in conflict anymore, because now we have the stay home, stay safe, and now it's a war of information and a word war versus a hand-to-hand combat. Let me go hunt you and kill you war. So, yeah. But if the A's and B's, positive or negative, stay home, then they have a better chance in surviving. But if the A's and B's are out there gallivanting like some of them are, forget it. They don't have what it takes. There's no amount of therapies that are going to save them from their own lifestyle and belief system. That's fucking insane. Okay, hold on. If you are blood type B, married to a blood type B, you are attacking each other because you don't hold antibodies for blood type B, only blood type A. So if you're around your blood type A friends, then you have protection against friends, but you don't have protection against someone that you live with. So imagine if my husband was blood type, like if if I was blood type B and he was blood type B, if we had the same blood type as far as B or A, it would be a doomed relationship. So now you can see why 50% divorce rate, people are getting together and their blood types are in conflict already. If you're opposite blood types like blood type A and B, you are supposed to have antibodies from each other's antigen. Okay. And so if you have A antigen and how does this work? Okay. Yeah, so you'll have antibodies. So A antigen, B antibodies, you'll be protected from the other person who has B antigen and they have A antibodies. So they're protected from the other person. So it's not like they're protecting from the other's antigen. You are supposed to have antibodies from each other's antigen. Yeah. Well, you wouldn't have it from the antigen. You just have the antibodies. You have your own antigen. Fuck. See, that's what I'm saying. This is some confusing shit. Even I have to learn how to say this correctly because it doesn't always say correctly because it's confusing. Yeah. Let me just correct that because I have to make sure this is correct. Blood Wars. Because this is insane. This is something we have to know, and it's something you have to get this correct. Like, you literally have to get this correct. Because if you don't even say it correctly, you won't know, you'll say something wrong. And you don't want to do that. Okay. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay. Because remember, I've been going over this for so many years and I haven't gotten it completely right. And I knew that the whole negative, positive shit was all have to do with it, but I didn't know how to say it in a way that I just didn't know how to say it. Okay. Okay, jeez, what is up with this? Okay. So if you're opposite blood types, like blood type A and B, you are supposed to have antibodies from each other's antigen. Okay, yeah, I said that correctly. Okay. So if you're blood type A, you'll have B antibodies. If you're blood type B, you have A antibodies. Okay? Blood type B has A antibody, but not B antibodies. Why wouldn't you have your own antibodies against yourself? Because that's the conflict. That's the war that you're dealing with. That's what gives us smartness. That's a relative equilibrium. That's being cured on some level. Oh, Grace. Oh my gosh. She says, I'm A positive and have 2 kids with B negative. Oh shit, they're destroying. Yeah. We were both being completely destroyed in a relationship with. So it's the RH factor that's kicking your butt. That's the issue. You might have an A antigen, but you have B antibodies. So you're protected as far as that's concerned, but it's the positive negative that is actually going to kick. Yes. It's the RH factor that is actually making a difference. Yeah. So you're supposed to have it from each other's antigen, yes. So, okay. And so A antibodies come from a B antigen person. That's crazy. So make sure if you are supposed to have antibodies from each other's, from the opposites, yeah, okay. Yep, from each other's antigen. And so let me make it more clear. And so you might be protected from your opposites, but not from yourself. And that's a bit more clear. Yeah. Oh God. See, the system pulled out all the stop save. Whoever developed humans, oh my gosh. All right. And so if you're opposite blood type, like blood type A and B, you are supposed to have antibodies from each other's antigen. And so you might be protected from your opposites, but not from yourself. And if you're married and both are O, no biggie, but it is the Rh factor that will destroy one or the other faster. But then also, too, the carriers. You could be carrying opposites in your body because of how the immune system holds on to things when people take medication, or they make the demon inside them stronger. So even then, that doesn't always make a difference. And if you are O married to an A or B, you could be attacking them with whatever antigen they do not have antibodies for, and the Rh factor is the kicker. Okay? That is the Vampire Diaries. That's the Blood Wars. And you do not have to be married, per se, just living or hanging out with people. You have no idea what blood type or Rh factor they hold. And that could be your roommates. That could be all the friends you hang out with. Remember when I went to that party in this last environment last summer, and it was so aggressive, it was so hot. Oh my God, I was dying. And I blew up like a balloon. That was my immune system corralling all those negatives in my body. I looked like the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man because my immune system was working for me. It wasn't developing antibodies against those negatives. It was taking the mucus and corralling them to carry it out through my nose. Okay, you could, and see that's the thing. You won't know what your body's developing, whether it's a protective force or if it's actual antibodies. But you can have so much of that protective force, and could it be antibodies? Well, you're not. If you're around people, well, you could. Yeah, there's a lot of antibodies because you're around somebody that you have to develop antibodies for. So that's your immune system replicating. But also, it's also then you have to eat because the negatives are destroying you if you're a positive. That's also what you have to understand, that eating in this environment, especially in this environment, that's why, Grace, you have to eat literally, you have to eat to be able to keep up with your kids because they will destroy you as far as the negatives. You really have to eat a lot because you have to build back what they're taking away from you. And that's even the energy that you expend on people. When you expend so much energy on people, regardless if they're your kids or your friends or family or whatever, you have to eat to replace that energy. The Rh factor speaks directly to the kids too. My plus kiddos and I get along easily, and my negative kiddo and I have so much more conflict. Yeah, Grace. I'm glad that this actually corresponds to that makes complete sense. That's some amazing shit, Grace. Thank you for that. That's why I had conflict with so many out there. I might be attracted to them, but there's also conflict. And then surviving that conflict. Was I really attracted? Well, I'll tell you, some people have some smarts out there. There's some people like type A's and B's that I probably came in contact with, even dated, and they're like PhDs and all that stuff, and just so smart in their field. Yeah, we wouldn't survive like long term. But the conflict of our microbes and then the knowledge that they held that I was taking on like a sponge was what made me smart. I carried those memories forever. Okay. And so, yeah, when you have kids that are like negatives and you're a positive, their kids aren't trained in anything, so they're just attacking you. But it's how those kids are programmed later on down the road, if they're allowed to, that turn into adults that then can give you the information, and then you hang out with that information for a minute and then you leave so you don't get destroyed by that person. That's how that works. And that's why that's why people say, that's why marriages end up 50% divorce rate, or they have to find a different way to relate to each other so they can survive each other. Or one dies sooner than the other one. Or they get lost in alcohol and drugs and mass amounts of sex. That's what's crazy. Yeah, I'm not answering any questions, Kimberly, okay? Please, no questions. I'm on an actual train of thought, okay? And so, yeah, that's why marriage is only temporary, and that's why life is only temporary, because you can't live long term. And that's why there's a lifespan. And so you don't have to be married per se, just living or hanging out with people you have no idea what blood type or Rh factor they hold, and everyone is a carrier of a blood type, and some other person has no protection against. Some other person has no protection against. And so everyone is a carrier of a blood type some other person has no protection against. And when the climate changed, it activated those demons, which is why people are dropping like flies and getting fast-moving cancers. The blood wars in my house as a kid, made me strong, along with all the psychological BS. And so I have the capacity to deal with many blood wars and psychological wars. And I also release the demons. After being raised with what were my potential opposites, no wonder I could handle so much. That's the thing, it's good to have conflict. Too much, it'll destroy you. Not enough, you won't be conditioned to deal with stress or knowledge or evolution. So yeah, there is no amount of good childbearing or boundaries or whatever when the family and lifestyle holds blood types and Rh factors that cannot hold up in our society, okay, without some major aggressive lifestyle changes. And so, yeah. And Merry Christmas and good morning, everybody. I try not to answer any questions, especially off topic. If you have something to contribute based upon the topic, I'll respond to that on some level. But anything off topic, nah, because we have to stay on because this is some pretty important shit here. I don't do this to be social. This is not for me to be social. This is for my own learning and to give you guys some knowledge so I can hear myself. And then you guys have something to contribute, like a confirmation of my information. That's fucking awesome. But anything other than what I'm talking about, I mean, it's just save it for whatever. Save it for other posts that I post in there, and that's fine. Okay. And so, yeah. There is no amount of good childbearing or boundaries or whatever when the family and the lifestyle hold blood types and Rh factors that cannot hold up in our society without some major aggressive lifestyle changes. And I mean major. I held the blood wars within, and I was exposed to the blood wars out there. Then I left society with just minimal contact. That was the last 3 years. With just minimal contact and social outings. And minimal social outings. So that's why when I was alone most of the time in my childhood, really, when you think about it, and then we went through the pandemic, and we're like, everyone stay home and stay safe and wear a mask. And I'm like, this rings so familiar. Being on my own. And I'm feeling that fear and that anxiety like I did when I was a kid because of the fucking blood type. I knew my mom was negative. I knew she was a fucking negative. And not that I can prove it. But then with the whole pandemic and all the fears and everything else, I had the same feeling of anxiety. As if all those negatives were finally were released like Pandora's box when CERN did what it was doing. And I had the same feel. I couldn't put my finger on it. But it was so familiar. The fear and anxiety. When you're raised by a negative and you're a positive, the fear and anxiety. And when you're surrounded by negatives out there and you're a positive, imagine the fear and anxiety. That's why you gotta be very careful now disciplining your kids who might be negatives, you're a positive, because you never know if they might, I mean, that's right. Was Jeffrey Dahmer an Rh negative? He might have been. I think so. Al Capone was an Rh negative. Some of the, yeah, that makes fucking sense. Serial killers could be Rh negatives. But then why would they want all the Rh negatives? They're not trying to destroy the O positive or the positives. They're using the negatives to strengthen the positives. But you can't have all negatives out there or else they destroy each other. A negative, they'll destroy each other, negative and negative. And negative is a positive bunch of negatives, but then, so you gotta have a balance because then there's no evolution. See, that's the thing, okay? Yeah, I remember the fear and anxiety when the pandemic hit. And it was a familiar feeling like I was at home. I was sitting in my house, during the pandemic. I'm staying home. And everyone's like, it's just political. It's just Biden. It's Trump. And I'm like, no, I remember this feeling. I don't know where the fuck where it came from, but I remember this feeling. Yeah, Pandora's box. And then July 22nd, or July 2022. Holy shit. Holy shit. July 2022, that's when the mycoplasma, that's when the demon woke up. And I couldn't tell you if it was from antibiotics or from my own parents. You can't make correlation equals causation. You get to realize that every negative in your body that's like a demon is a compilation of everything you've ever been exposed to. Oh, you might have had a start. The demon began in your childhood. The demon was developed in your childhood, but it was sustained. And it became stronger throughout your young adulthood and then adulthood. And then that's why people then, they're fertile because of the opposites that are inside the body. But that's also when they get the onset of either autoimmune disorders or they have other diagnosable conditions as they get older in their 40s and their 50s. And they manage it with drugs and other things and surgeries. But that's what happens. It's what happens. That, wow. And so I remember the feeling. It was as if I was back at my childhood again. It was so crazy. Jesus. And so then I left society. I said, fuck it. I'm not going to, And that's why I did wear a mask in the beginning. I didn't want to get a V because I wasn't that blood type. Those who have blood type A and B probably are under doctor's care, so they get it recommended. But then I left society with just minimal contact and minimal social outings. If I am still O positive, the negatives floating around my community will attack, and I will have to activate my immune system and release and build back up even better with all food. And so I would imagine all the trolls that don't like me and hate me are probably Rh negatives or radicalized by an Rh negative somewhere, like completely radicalized. Yeah. And not that I could prove it. I'll tell you, I don't even know who some of them could be government plants. You never know who the fuck they are. But I can say that the conflict that I received most likely came from the Rh negatives. Yeah. And so that is all the invisible wars all of us are in and do not even know it. And that's why people are suffering. You're so funny, Kimberly. Good morning. Did you have turkey? It's so random. So I know you mean well. But I was in a train of thought, okay? And you can't interrupt someone in a train of thought. You got to let them ride it out and just kind of read the room before you interject. But yeah, thanks, Grace. The RH factors speak directly to the kids. My plus kiddo, and I get along easily, and my negative kiddo, I have so much more conflict. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm going to just delete this because I'm going to delete, move to trash. Because I really don't feel like going further with that. Okay. And so then I knew it. The Large Hadron Collider at CERN, we started on April 22nd, 2022, after 3-year shutdown for maintenance and upgrades. The LHC's third round of operations, Run 3, officially began on July 5th, 2022. July 5th, that's interesting, right? And is expected to continue until 2026. So we're going into 2024, 2025, and then 2026. And that's when I felt the most sickest was after July 4th weekend. That week after July 4th weekend, right after July 4th weekend, the whole summer was different. In 2026, CERN engineers and technicians will turn off the Large Hadron Collider and replace multiple components as part of the high luminosity upgrade. The HL-LHC project began in 2011 and aims to commission the upgrade by 2026. The upgrade will increase the number of proton-proton collisions. So it's only going to get even more aggressive. Right now, it's already pretty aggressive. They're going to increase. What is it? The upgrade will increase the number of proton-proton collisions. Particle acceleration is what's activating everything. Particle acceleration. I have that in my book. But someone on my Facebook just realized what I was talking about. See, see if you can't read between the lines, you'll not get what I'm talking about, but I can't say certain things in here. I didn't mention CERN. I just mentioned climate control, like HVAC. But if you don't understand that CERN is basically climate control, climate engineering, climate change, then you're not going to understand where I'm coming from in this. You're not. But I couldn't say that. That's why people don't get this book. Because they don't understand that I know exactly what's going on. I knew the particle acceleration was causing the demons to move. The negatives in people's bodies to move. And destroy them from the inside. And then people help it with all of the remedies and surgeries, as well as all of the babies they have that work against them. But I couldn't say, again, CERN and HAARP. I just know that there are things out there that are accelerating people's intentions. Particle acceleration is climate control, and it's also climate change. And so this is for me. This is not for the world, because people will not be able to read between the lines. Again, some people don't even get this, and they just got it the other day. I just got yes, it was in my book. But again, you have to understand particle acceleration is the Large Hadron Collider. Okay? You're welcome, Eris. Nice to see you, Miss Eris. Eris Chaos. Chaos into order. But holy shit. So I'm telling you guys, you're going to have to really, I'm telling you, there's nothing to, when you think about it, there is nothing to achieve out there. What you think is something to achieve is already been achieved. There's a million cancer cures, and you can pick your choice, and then you end up dead anyway, so whatever. Or you find a way to save yourself and eat food and listen to indicators and do what you can to make some money, to make your bills, and don't try to be too overly ambitious, not in this environment. Anyone overly ambitious in this environment is going to work against themselves. But again, you can't tell it to people who've been raised in a certain lifestyle or raised with a certain notion of what they should be doing right now. And some men have a hard time understanding that we're in a very different world because they're trying to keep up with everybody around them. Men will have a hard time changing. Women might have a better chance because they have the evolution. They bear the babies. They deal with the sickness because of PMS, PMDD, or labor pains and morning sickness. But men. And so I said, I do not recommend eating for your blood type. If you want to be strong, eat all food, release the demons. But that's just me. But do what you want. And so some people abide strictly by those blood type diets, and fine, if you want to sustain yourself in the intolerances. I'm not saying you can change your blood type because there's no proof of that, though they said if you get infection and diseases, it could happen, like blood transfusions or certain infections. As far as the RH factor, that's not even my goal, because what is the end result? What is the ultimate end result? Strengthening the O positive, and the A's and B's get phased out? I don't know. And would the RH negatives get phased out? Potentially not. It just depends. It just depends if they're not going to get involved in drugs and alcohol and all that shit. Because again, you saw who. Let me go back. Let me go to that. Not back. Let me go to that. RH negative celebrities. Okay. So I'm just going to go down here real quick. Neil Armstrong, O negative. Kevin Bacon, B negative. So he has B antigen, but A antibodies, so he has to get the V's in order to protect him from the A's. But he's also a negative. Sacha Baron, O negative. Huh, interesting, cool. Stephanie Beacham, I don't know who she is. Benji Bronk, O negative. I don't know who this person is. Ted Bundy, O negative. Well, that makes sense. Ted Bundy, O negative. He's eating people. Well, he's Mr. Negative, and he's eating people. Or he's not eating. That's Dahmer. He's killing women. So you don't want to have, you really want to have the O positive, but the O positive are strengthened by the negatives. That's MK Ultra. You got to have a little bit of conflict, but not too much and not too little. And it has to be managed. That's the CIA. That's MI6. They're managing the conflict to strengthen the O positives because that's who they want in the future. That makes sense because you don't want to have a bunch of O negatives like a freaking Ted Bundy hunting people. Who is this? James Cameron? Oh, Jimmy Carter. Bill and Hillary Clinton, they're negatives. Al Capone, O negative. And he was smart. What was he doing? The whole prohibition? He was like a bootlegger or whatever. What is it? Yeah. Mafia stuff. Fidel Castro, A negative. Oh, that makes sense. Kurt Cobain, O negative. Smart and talented, but got lost in drugs. Or whatever else. Phil Collins is A negative. Charles de Gaulle, AB negative. Interesting. Johnny Depp, B negative. Leonardo DiCaprio is B negative. Wow. Oh, David Duchovny, O negative. And he was in a lot of these shows that are about, like he was in the alien stuff, but also Californication, all about sex. Very interesting, Kimberly. Oh, thanks. Yes, you're O positive. Okay, very cool, Kimberly. I'm O positive too. But yes, David Duchovny, and that's what he inspired me to write, because he was a writer in that show, Californication. I watched it. It was such an interesting show. I love that show. Or there was a Showtime or HBO, but I watched it a lot because that was just the mode that I was in, and he inspired me to write stuff. So, but yeah, he's O negative, and he's all about the sex. Yeah, remember people who are very sexual? They're cannibalizing somebody. Okay. Clint Eastwood, Dwight Eisenhower, O negative. I don't know who that person is. Oh. Blood type. So, what's her name? Mia Farrow, B negative. Bobby Fischer, right? He does the chess stuff. He is O negative. Callista Flockhart, A negative. Gerald Ford, he's an RH negative. I don't know who Liam Gallagher is, O negative. Liam's brother is O negative. And a lot of the actors are, Ava Gardner is negative. Ronald Goldman, he died from OJ, O negative, or whatever. Kelsey Grammer, negative. Cary Grant, Steve Guttenberg, negative. B negative. James Harrison, RH null. Sophie Hawkins, oh, Jimi Hendrix, O negative. Jimi Hendrix. Marilu Henner. Jim Henson, O negative. I don't know some people. Mick Hucknall. Rock legend Mick Jagger, AB negative. Jenna Jameson, A negative. Okay, people, these sexual people, Hollywood. Scarlett Johansson. Oh, look, Angelina Jolie, A negative. She's highly sexual. Highly sexual people are probably negative somewhere, but can you program into someone potentially? Legendary Force, Janis Joplin, O negative. Curly, Eartha Kitt, Lisa Kudrow, Chris Kyle, A negative. Cyndi Lauper, AB negative. Wow, John Lennon, O negative, yeah. David Letterman, A negative. Ray Liotta. Jeez. Loretta Lynn. Charles Manson. Oh, I didn't know that. Charles Manson is O negative. Do I want to be a negative? No. I want to be a positive. But the negatives are going to strengthen me. I don't want to be a Charles Manson. Oh my God. You want to be a positive. Oh my God. I changed my thought. I got to change my thought on that. I got to put it out there. I got to verbalize it. All right. I want to stay O positive. Shit, where's the plus? No. God dang it. O, where is that? There it is. Positive. Not O negative. Not trying to destroy. Yeah. All right, I have to go and neutralize what I said before. Holy crap! Charles Manson is an O negative. Well, there you go. Bob Marley, B negative. John McCain, Paul McCartney, Steve McQueen, O negative. Freddie Mercury, B negative. Are the negatives the sexual people? Are the negatives the highly talented, sexual, traumatic people? Oh, there's also positives out there, but Marilyn Monroe, AB negative. Jim Morrison, O negative. Shit, Paul Newman, O negative. Jack Nicholson, B negative. Richard Nixon, A negative. Ozzy Osbourne, O negative. Oh, that makes sense. Interesting. Robert Pattinson, team whatever his name is, in the Vampire Twilight. Regis Philbin, O negative. Oh, Pope John Paul II, A negative. Okay, Susie Quattro, AB negative. Jeremy Renner, yeah. Oh, Julia Roberts, B negative. Gavin Rossdale, O negative. Wow. Sabrina Saybrook, A negative. Carl Sagan, oh, he's a negative. Susan Sarandon, B negative. Tom Selleck, B negative. O.J. Simpson, A negative. Okay, Christian Slater is a negative. Ah, Britney Spears, A negative. Britney Spears, Ringo Starr, A negative. Peter Steele, O negative. Sharon Stone and Meryl Streep, here, she's AB negative. Hilary Swank, and then Nikki Taylor, O negative. Oh wow. Tim Tebow, AB negative, and he's left-handed. Cheyenne Tazi. Oh, and Donald Trump is a negative. Interesting. Lana Turner. Oh, and Prince Charles, O negative. Prince Charles, O negative. Oh, Lordy. Wow. Oh, Prince William, O negative. But he's not like Charles Manson, as far as I know. Interesting. So it is nature and nurture when you think about it. Nature and nurture. Queen Elizabeth, oh, she's O negative too. Nature and nurture. Holy shit. Queen Mother, O negative. Oh, that is some interesting shit. So, yeah. That's some crazy stuff. Okay, so, yeah. So anyways, pay attention to your blood type and your Rh factor. I'm going to delete that after my conclusion. It's the strongest. Doesn't mean you want to stay it. I'll just stay what I am. But you can be O negative. You can be O negative and be like a Prince Charles, Prince William, and Queen Elizabeth. Okay? So I'm going to delete that. Is it really the strongest blood type? I don't know. Oh, time to find out, Eris. Time to find out. You guys got to find out. You're flying blind if you don't. O negative. Yeah, I'll just leave that. I'm not going to delete it. I'll just leave it. Okay. So when I said, well, Merry Christmas to me, finding out the system is trying to get rid of my Rh positive, no. That'll make me stronger. I'm determined to change it. No, I'm not. I'm sticking with it. Because it's the positive and negatives are going to strengthen each other, but it's the O positive and the O negatives are going to strengthen each other. The ABs, they'll have to be in their own little area that isn't exposed to too many of their opposites or of the same. They have to have the opposites. They have to have a good mixture of A's and B's. But you can't have too many A's because they'll destroy each other. You can't have too many B's because they'll destroy each other. So you have to have, yeah. And that's kind of weird. It's counterintuitive, but that's how the system is going to figure out all the different colonies that we will have eventually in the future. So we don't have all-out human extinction. And so a study estimates that about 6 or 7% of the global population has Rh negative blood. However, other sources say that about 7% of the world's population is Rh negative. 500 million. Now, am I saying the system is trying to get rid of all the Rh positives? No. Or make them extremely strong. Okay, so the Rh negatives are going to be the ones to determine who the strong ones are. If you can handle an Rh negative and survive them, you have a chance. If you get destroyed by the Rh negatives around you and by the other blood types, then it's not going to matter anyways. It's the strong that are going to survive this biological war of humanity. And so according to 2017 NCBI article, the High Atlas range of Morocco and Basques have the highest reported prevalence of Rh negative phenotype apart from Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia is very strong. They look like, with like Dubai, they look like a first civilization. Okay. Because of all their technology. According to Science Direct topics, 30 to 35% of Basques have Rh negative, which is the highest incidence of Rh negative blood in the world. This is higher than the rest of Europe, including neighboring regions of France and Spain. But you also have to contend with your blood type. Blood type A and B attack themselves. O would be the strongest. So can my blood change from positive to negative? Usually you'll have the same blood type all your life. In rare cases, however, blood types can change. The change usually relates to unique circumstances such as having a bone marrow transplant or getting certain types of leukemia or infections. Not all of these changes in blood are permanent. Okay, it's an inheritable thing. Wow. Shifts from Rh positive to Rh negative phenotype caused by somatic mutation with the Rhd gene in a patient. Okay. And so antibodies aren't deadly unless you happen to be an antigen. Okay, so you have these antibodies against an antigen. That's the neutralizing factor. That's the plus and minus. Antigen can be deadly if you don't have antibodies. There is no proof that there is an antigen inside the vaccines. However, it is an immune system activation. And when your immune system gets activated, it's hard to say how it will affect you, but it would anyways during climate change and exposure to antigen in crowds. Right now, during atmospheric changes, people's immune systems are activating within even the therapies and simultaneously with the therapies if they take them, even without the therapies, and simultaneously with the therapies if they take them. My immune system has been activated. I didn't have a therapy, but my immune system has been activated. I'm also breathing in antigen that I may not have antibodies for because I'm O positive. So I'm being attacked by the negatives in my community and people who hold the negatives within. So I feel everything and I release the demons. Everything happens together during this pandemic is not a coincidence. Everything happening together during this pandemic is not a coincidence. Climate change, immune system activation, therapy suggestion, outcome, blame game, that was the intention. Climate change, immune system activation, and then turning to a therapy, and then immune system activation again, and then the outcome, and then who you blame it on, and what you blame it on was intended. You'll never know if it was going to happen anyways or what triggered it. Fucking strategic. Okay? And so antigen, antibody overload, and mycoplasma working against you, mimicking the demons. You could have both in your body and you wouldn't know which one is which is why I release demons and eat food, because I could have a lot of antibodies in the body that work against me, and that would be called antigen. But again, things can convert, especially in the macrophages. When the macrophages are holding on to that antigen and then the antigen replicates, sometimes that antigen busts out of the macrophages and then they become activated. Which is why I release demons and eat food, because I cannot possibly figure out what kind of antibodies or antigen are in my body. So there is no target approach in my world. Cancer is when you have the antigen stuck in your body, not allowed to get out. And it could be from an Rh negative person or your own immune system. Blood type and A and B probably have a better chance to get cancer or disease than blood type O. They already have their immune system attacking them. It was built into their blood type, which is why they have a lot of smarts, because of that resistance in the beginning. But over time, resistance called breakage, and one is going to take over the other. But resistance only lasts so long, okay? You don't have to have the programming built into your body to be a smart person. It's nature and nurture. Remember, it's memories. I'm O positive and exposed to negatives and everything out there, and had a lot of diversity in my body that caused a lot of my diseases and that whole fight of mycoplasma or the PMDD. And then the last 7 years, I released those demons. That's what gave me then the clarity of thought to make these connections, because it's the diversity in your body that clouds the logic, and you're getting irrelevant information with relevant information, and you can't tell the difference between the two until you allow your immune system to release what it needs to. And that means you have to feed. That means you have to do a lot of things that people don't do right now. And so why would they say O negative is optimal during COVID-19 season if it wasn't communicable? The Rh factor is communicable, because Rh negative people have antibodies against the Rh positive. And Rh positive people don't have antibodies against the Rh negatives. And it doesn't mean the Vs are going to protect you against from that, but that's also for the As and Bs. But that's what they say, then wear a mask. Okay, so the Rh factor probably isn't necessarily about the Vs, but what's the system going to say? So then when you wear a mask, so you lessen the payload of the negative Rh negatives against an Rh positive. So I'm just going to leave that there for right now, because that's what my train of thought was going. So you're seeing my train of thought as it builds on itself, and I correct. Because again, I haven't seen anything in the V world about mRNA for someone who is an Rh positive against an Rh negative. I haven't seen that. But anyway, that's the theory. If you already are overloaded and deficient, it won't matter anyways. Again, this is just all my notes. I'm going through trains of thought. This is how people come to conclusions. They have to go through the process. And so blood type A and B are self-destructing, while the Rh plus or minus are attacking each other. But the Rh negatives have an advantage over the Rh positives, and it's optimal to be O negative during COVID season, but when people are dying, they attack other people and project. So in essence, we all are attacking each other right now until we step out of the war. And so I found evidence to say that are people with Rh negative blood at risk for coronavirus. Even the Rh factor plus or minus displayed after your blood type matters. Some testing even found that those with Rh negative blood types appear to be at a decreased risk of infection. Are people with Rh negative blood types at risk of coronavirus? Even Rh factors, okay. While it's been less conclusive to fit perfectly within my very unscientific findings, the only people I know in the world who never had COVID have blood type O negative blood. O is for optimal. This is what someone's saying from Bloomberg. I thought everyone had suffered enough COVID at least once, but not these two people I know through work. They both also mentioned that they have blood type O negative blood. This couldn't be a coincidence. So that was from Bloomberg. O is for optimal, but negative is the kicker. And so virus. Then you're getting to the virus. And I do mention the virus and Hydra. But again, I touch upon a few things, but I'm now filling in all the holes. But this was like me just figuring out stuff. Diversity and oh my God, whatever. So virus, what happens if you lack antibodies? Both primary and secondary antibody deficiencies can be associated with infections, immune dysregulation, and end organ damage, causing significant morbidity and mortality. Therefore, it is important to diagnose and treat these patients promptly to minimize adverse effects and improve quality of life. And so trapping Rh negative antigen inside an Rh positive person is like incubating a demon out to destroy you. And so your immune system is trying to release those demons through the mucus, and people dry up their mucus and they stop their body from releasing. They stop their body from coughing, sneezing, and blowing their nose, and they don't feed their body all the food to then give the body the emphasis to release the demons. So that's why they have this entity called mycoplasma, pneumonia. That's all the mucus that's trying to trap those negatives in the body, trying to release. Because I'm telling you, if you didn't have an immune system, you wouldn't be able to deal with your environment. You'd be dead. You'd be overtaken like that. But you have an immune system to be able to trap that, but people over time disable their body's immune system to work the way it's supposed to, so they trap the demon within, and that's why they get these fast-moving cancers. And so that's why I did the picture of Rh negative and Rh positive. The Rh negative, so Rh negative, they have Rh positive antibodies. So they're protected against the Rh positive, but your Rh positive, you get the Rh negative antigen, but there's no antibodies. That's what's taken away from you. And so a person who's Rh negative is protected. A person who's Rh positive is not protected against an Rh negative. That's what the system is not telling you. But that's what the whole negative times a negative is what's telling you. But they don't tell you that. They don't make those connections. Do you hear anybody in math class and in science class say, oh yeah, unless you're in high levels, and I don't know, so I've never been in high level freaking math or English or math or chemistry or biology where you're dealing with proteins and docking. I learned that from someone I dated that was a PhD. And so Rh negatives can still have their own issues as far as their blood type and what they trap inside their body and starvation through disease management. And so virus equals Rh negatives attacking Rh positive via spittle and bodily fluids. And that's why I'm so hungry when I get exposed to so many things, as well as releasing colony units of who knows what, repairing the damage and releasing the demons, because I won't have an immunity against Rh negatives, ectoplasm floating in the atmosphere. That's why you have to have an amazing immune system to let the virus run its course and then have the mucus release. You don't ever attack anything, you release it. You attack anything, you make it stronger. Just like the Rh negatives attacking me when I grew up and out there and even during the whole jelly juice world. I'm positive with the whole jelly juice, right? Because it's ions, right? This is positive ions, salt, activation. And then all the negatives out there were like wanting to attack me. And if I didn't have the strength to deal with it and the capacity, like I was raised in my house, the way I was raised, I would have folded up and died from all those attacks, even in Dr. Phil. But guess what? I did what I usually do, is stand up and fucking fight for my life and fight for my information. And that's what it takes to live. If you don't have the fight within you, you'll succumb to the most aggressive elements, which would be someone who's way opposite of you, and they will freaking destroy you. That's why you have to have an amazing immune system to let the virus run its course. And you have to feed it. That's what they say, feed all colds. That's a virus. A virus is basically a negative that's running through your body, like pinball. Vital information resource under siege are the Rh negatives trapped the Rh positive bodies. Trapped in the Rh positive bodies. Or running roughshod and maybe some of it's being released within with a few attacking. No different than the blood type A and B blood types, their own immune system attacking themselves. The system developed an enemy for everyone to strengthen the human race and also control it and regulate it. Oh, you don't even know to what extent, how deep this goes. And again, it's not bad. It's strengthening humans, developing opposites and people who are like you. Opposites attract and they strengthen each other, but too much evolution destroys, not enough destroys. It's a balance, and you have to understand what's going on. And you can't keep attacking yourself because you'll make that demon stronger. But that was the school of thought that made Einstein what he was, because that innovation, that attack, that made him stronger in his information, as well as Stephen Hawking and anyone else that is so good at their craft. It was a conflict that made them stronger, which is why the system wants you to raise your kids a certain way. Wants you to raise your kids a certain way, but you can't tell people how to do that. You can't tell people how to raise your kids. And then you don't even know what you're dealing with. Just like Dahmer and Bundy, Ted Bundy, or Manson, you can't control that. You try to come down hard on a kid that's a negative, oh my God. Luckily, I was no positive. If I was like any kind of negative and I was getting destroyed or, come down on by somebody, I would have destroyed somebody because it would have been my DNA. That's why the system does what it does. It's so strategic. So yeah, what they did to Charles Manson, who was already O negative, made him a killer. So if you don't know your kid's blood type, be very careful how you discipline them. because you can turn them into a killer. That's fucking insane. And then I figured out, I'll read this. Oh my gosh, now it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. I knew I was under attack. I fucking knew it. I'm O positive. I was probably raised by Rh negative people, but I can't prove it. They're probably A and B. But given the religion I was raised in and the amount of resistance I had to develop due to all sorts of programming I had no idea I was in at the time, holy shit. And so, the way I was raised was strategic. It was an actual intentional programming. And so the military tested my blood, so that's how I know what my blood type was. And I survived all the attacks, the psychological attacks and the molecular attacks. And I released the demons the last 7 years because I was probably set out to die from cancer, disease, or domestic violence. That's why I had so many allergies as a child, because I was under attack. And it was always during cold and flu season and especially spring allergy season. Okay? I was under constant attack from my own parents' molecular bloodline. I can't prove it, but when you're in a molecular and psychological resistance, it was war every single day. And fear. War and fear. Can you imagine being raised in that? And that was all intentional because it was strengthening me. And if I survived it, then if I didn't, it wouldn't matter anyways. I wasn't going to survive Vietnam. And given my background, I wasn't going to survive a family that didn't understand what was going on. I had to be in a scientific family that understood what was going on. So I can't get mad at my childhood. I cannot. It was fucking crazy, yes, but I can't get mad at it. I really can't. Okay, and that's, And then I figured out the whole thing with the fetus, that's what happens to people. So the Rh negatives are the ones who are the carriers of the neg that are attacking the positives, like Pac-Man. Like what a mother does to her fetus when she is the Rh negative with an Rh positive baby. When the blood of an Rh positive fetus gets into the bloodstream of an Rh negative woman, her body will recognize the Rh positive blood is not hers. Her body will try to destroy it by making anti-Rh antibodies. These antibodies can cross the placenta and attack the fetus blood cells. And so then I said I haven't found the information determining how communicable it could be, but they say it's only inherited by pregnancy, not necessarily. I mean, yes, as far as the actual blood type, but you can hold those negatives inside a person's body through the mucus. Yeah. And I said I would imagine that the Rh factor is something that is in your antibodies. Blood, bodily fluids, and mucus, and your spit hold everything. Yes, erythrocytes, RBC, which is red blood cells, and leukocytes, white blood cells, can mix. Both are part of a full blood count, FBC. What is the ratio to RBC to WBC? 1 to 600. 1 red blood cell to 600 white blood cells. The ratio of WBC to RBC in human blood is 1 to 600. White blood cells are an integral part of the human immune system, which help us to fight any infection. The usual WBC count is less, but when the body is infected with a virus or any pathogen, WBC count raises. Plasma is the carrier force, and everything is connected. And again, I said, according to Science Direct topics, 30-35% of baths have Rh negative, which is the highest incident of Rh negative. And then and also in parts of Western Europe too, which is why a lot of Jews have an Rh negative, which is why Hitler was against them, trying to destroy them. But they were the evolution, they were the strengthening force. They weren't the destroyers. Okay, it was a strengthening force. And so this higher than the rest of Europe, including neighboring regions of France and Spain. The Catholic Church proclaims that as a Eucharist miracle and belief that flesh and blood, that the bread and wine changed into be the true body of blood of Christ. Therefore, the Church professes Jesus Christ's blood was AB. I don't know how they did that, but okay. But it's rare, and that's probably, and he died. Well, he died at the hands of somebody else. He's rare, so he had probably a lot of knowledge. I'm not surprised Jesus Christ had the blood of type, a rare blood of A and B, but who knows if that's true or not. Oh, according to 2017 NBCI article, the high Atlas range of Morocco and Basque have the highest reported prevalence of Rh negative phenotypes apart from Saudi Arabia. So the Muslims are, and the Jews are strengthening the Christians and the Asians and the blacks. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all this, but now you see where I'm coming from. And then I said, Big Bang is any event that causes a ripple effect. And so it's all relative, not necessarily universally literal. But you can have Big Bang events like change that causes every action-reaction to respond differently based upon the change. And so we are in a Big Bang event, okay, a great reset. And it does have a ripple effect, even potentially even a mandala effect, which should clue you in that maybe your old lifestyle will not serve you very well, especially if you don't have money or substance to burn. Now, someone who read that out of everything did not like what I had to say about that. And what did she say? She was always in front of my Facebook. I didn't really talk to. I saw stuff on her Facebook, but I didn't agree with everything. But I don't go on there and try to convert or say anything against what she says. But she's like, you are very misinformed. But didn't go into detail on what it was that she was referring to. So, okay. Yeah. Right now, we are in an opposite type of environment. And what you did before, if you want to survive or at least prolong your life, you're going to have to change the way you do stuff. Like, literally, you're going to have to change. And the old world will disappear, and that might include also certain blood types. Okay? And the system is phasing in very specific blood types in different areas. Because all the experiments prove that nature and nurture do go hand in hand. And that's why they're bringing in immigrants from other countries into America. Because now we have so many Rh negatives or people who are deficient. We not only have to replace the workers, but also, again, you're in a blood war. Okay? And so all the experiments prove that nature and nurture do go hand in hand. Because blood type A and B could evolve the blood type O relative to what the blood types are trained in, assuming that blood type O is open to intellectual and intelligent evolution. But for blood type O to evolve blood type A and B, physically blood type A and B would have to be prepared for that energy conversion from blood type O. But how would you evolve them? Well, that's the thing. Does the blood type A and B have the capacity to evolve? I'm not saying change blood types, but could they become stronger? I couldn't tell you exactly. There's no way to know. We're in it. We're in the experiment right now. With the climate change, they're watching everything play out. Maybe they've done their research in smaller experiential circumstances, doing the same thing with certain control groups, but I don't know what those outcomes were. I know Universe 25, there was all-out rat extinction from procreation. So I know people screwing each other to death, and given everything could turn into extinction. But as far as the blood types, what were the last remaining blood types in those rat populations if you can compare them to humans? Science has also said that potentially people who are blood type A and B could potentially turn blood type O. But again, I think in certain circumstances, but again, I don't know. Evolution can happen for either of them, cannot happen for either of them if they both resist each other. And so you're watching the resistance out there. People are resisting each other out of existence. That's why I left the war of information. I stopped resisting and stopped taking sides. And with all the aerosolized ectoplasmic white blood cell activation sequences and then the integration on Facebook and the internet, everyone's getting a crash course in adaptation, the human condition, and even human history. By the way, all of us are Jewish. We all came from the same people, descendants of all the hominids, and all of us are Adam and Eve. All of us are the chosen ones. Some people happen to resist being chosen, but they were given a chance. And so humans just happen to evolve based upon the intention via religion, which is why you get all the offshoot religions and worship. And I don't fight whether or not Christmas today or Christmas yesterday is pagan or whatever. I could care less. It doesn't make a difference to me. But the old world is disappearing. Okay, so please spare me with all the rhetoric against Israel and everything else. Because you'll find certain blood types found in certain regions, wherever they are, will have a hard time assimilating to climate change. Okay, so don't blame the Jews for anything or Israel, because it's not them per se, it's just the system. And the old world is disappearing, and sometimes it's your eldest brothers and sisters who are grandmas and grandpas, or people from the silent gens, or cultures that are so stuck in their ways, rigid ways, and they can't assimilate to new information or people. Okay? But there's going to be wars out there because of one side or the other, and you can't get involved. But again, climate change is taking out a lot of the different gene pools, like blood types, and even some of the RH factors. And so you're going to be strengthened by the conflict, or you're going to die from it. And you'd have to change the way you do stuff. Let me tell you, all war sucks, and I can't stop it. And I can't stop people from doing what they do. The system gives you information, and people develop perceptions. I can't help people's perceptions about me, no different than the system can't help people's perceptions about the system and the government. And so just stay on the side of right and the law of your land, because if you choose resistance, you'll die. Resistance always ended up in death. All right, so you have to determine your equilibrium within the mycoplasma and then the negatives and positives in your body. If no one is coming into your house and no one's making you do anything against your will, what are you resisting? If you have food, water, and shelter and climate control and access to relief from licensed professionals, what are you resisting? Resistance is deadly and futile, which is why I don't resist disease. I feed it and I release those demons, and I stay out of harm's way, and I listen to indicators. The world is not the same as it was before 2019. Pandora's box has been opened, and the demons are out there looking for a body to inhabit. And right now, people who have deficiencies in their immune system are not handling climate change very well, regardless of blood type. All right? And so I'm just going to say at that, I'm going to leave it at that. And yeah, and that's where from all this stuff I was doing with the AI, oh my God. Yeah. So sometimes something sparks, and then I go on this train, and then bam, the train leaves the station. And there you go. I'm on another tangent of really interesting shit that I finally discovered on my own. But I've been studying this for the last 7 years, okay? So I'm just revisiting what I was studying. That's all I'm doing. But you gotta have a foundation. Okay. And so, all right, I'm going to go, because I'm just going to let this information sink in myself and sink in with you. And we'll see what YouTube has to say. Because I've had YouTube go like, well, what the hell are you talking about here about this? But yeah, I'm not saying that you can change your blood type. I'm not saying they're trying to eradicate a blood type. No, they're strengthening the bloodlines. That's exactly what's going on. The system is strengthening the bloodlines. And you now have a choice to be able to change the way you do things and strengthen yourself to deal with this. And sometimes if you are a blood type A and B, that would require you not being out there with so many people, that you stay home, stay safe, wear a mask, get the V's if necessary. And that's all I can recommend. Everything else, I don't know. I don't need a V. If I can get a V, okay, fine. But there's no V for, when you think about it, I don't think there's a V for RH negative, for an RH positive. I just have to keep feeding my body during this climate change. And so it's the RH, or it's the blood type A and B that have to really look at how much protection they need from the government as far as the vaccines. And that's an individual choice. And that's all I can say. Have a good day. Bye.